Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 54 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How are you guys doing?
I am doing pretty well, thank you. How about you, gentlemen?
Also, pretty well.
Indeed, I too am well.
But I'm also sad
Yeah? Why's that?
because today is our last episode to discuss Frieren, season 1.
It is season 1, yes.
That makes me sad,
I eagerly await season 2. Please, Madhouse, make that happen.
as do I. But
Why isn't it out now?
why am I not watching season 2 as we speak?
Right?
It's painful. It's very painful.
But you know what else was amazing, but also sad to see end? My trip to Wrestlemania 40.
Woo!
Oh,
Tell us
man.
about it, dude. How was it?
Had to be an
So-
experience.
This has been something I've wanted to attend since I was a kid. Like, whenever Shawn Michaels won the title at WrestleMania 12, the boyhood dream has come true. That's how I felt the entire weekend. Like, just being there, the environment, the atmosphere of it all was incredible. And we did everything. Like, went out there with a friend. We went out Friday morning. We did SmackDown and the Hall of Fame ceremony on Friday. Saturday, we did the NXT Stand and Deliver event, and then Mania Night 1. And then Sunday, we did WWE World, which was like the Fanatics convention, and Mania Night 2. And then on Monday, we did WWE World again, and then Raw. So I think I did like at least, let's see, each night of Mania was like 4 hours, like or an average of 4 hours. So that's 8. SmackDown was 2, so that's 12. Hall of Fame was another 3, that's 15. Raw was 3, so that was 18. And then the time spent at World. So I was doing something wrestling related for 22 to 24 hours of the 4 days that I was there.
Wow. Good for you.
That's actually absolutely beautiful.
It was
As a wrestling fan.
Exactly. It was fantastic. The ushers at Wells Fargo Center can go to hell. They sucked. At least the usher that was in my section. Also, it was in Philly, so yeah,
That explains a lot.
yeah. But
Enough said.
Sean, you're a wrestling fan, so like Friday, like people were taking pictures and like just taking videos of the crowd before the event even started. And this usher's like, "You can't video, you can't take video. We will kick you out." And we're like, "What?" Like,
What?
and like, yeah. Meanwhile, people were taking pictures. We're like, "Okay, whatever, lady." And then like the event started, and sure enough, you see everyone with their phones out recording. It's like, you gonna throw all these people out, or you just being a bitch?
Yeah,
And
of
then,
course it was at you guys, so you
of
guys couldn't
course,
pull out your phone again.
of course.
You're like, well,
Well, it
crap.
was like,
If she sees me with my phone, she's going to kick me
yeah,
out and leave everyone else alone.
yeah. It was like the general vicinity of our section, not
Oh,
directed like right at my buddy and I, but it's still like, what the fuck? And then Monday at Raw, this person was handing out like Cody Crybaby signs out to support Cody Rhodes. And you've been to wrestling events, everyone brings signs. And people like, she was passing these signs out and people were holding up, mom up. And this usher, same usher from that Friday from SmackDown, started collecting all the signs. And she's like, "You can't hold these up. We'll throw you out. You're not allowed signs." And we're like, "What?" Like, it's a wrestling event. And then during one of the commercial breaks, there was a sign of the night segment.
are you serious?
Yeah.
Man, how did you get the world's worst usher?
I have no idea.
Or
but it's
security guard or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's so like that sucked, but like the Mania stuff at the Lincoln was fantastic. Minus the weather. Well, Saturday it was cold. Like the wind chill was just brutal. I think by the end of the night the wind chill was in like the high 30s. So like I was dressed like I was going to a football game. But the weather on Sunday was fantastic. But it was just so much fun. Like watching Cody finish the story was so damn emotional. Like he came back 3 years ago at Mania and he was pretty much like, I came back, like wrestling's a love story. I came back to win the title that my father never won. And my dream was to give him that belt whenever I won it. And Dusty passed before that happened. And like these past 3 years have just been the story of Cody trying to win the championship through injury, through heartbreak at WrestleMania 39, and then completing the story this year. And like there was so many tears being shed in that stadium of the fans, just like watching him win the belt, culminating his story, and then handing that belt to his mom, pretty much saying, like, he pretty much said, I can't give it to my father, but I can give it to my mom. And like, it just like hit me on such a deep level because it's like losing my dad. It's like, there are things it's like, I would love to like just be able to like, if there was like a big accomplishment, it's like, yeah, I did this. Like, I'm a softball player. If I ever wanted like a softball ring, it's like, check out this softball ring. And I can't do that now. So it's like, it really hit me deeply, just like that story. And then like going into the stadium on Saturday, it was hard not to tear up just from the emotion of it. Like, here's something I've been dreaming about for almost 30 years. And for it to finally come true, the emotions were just running high for me all weekend.
You got me feeling emotional.
Yeah, my brother went,
Oh no.
and yeah, I actually haven't had a chance to chat with him about it yet, since he got back. But I'm going to reach out to him at some point and ask him about it. But yeah, it's something that I think would be really fun to go to. It's really hard to justify it whenever you have a wife who's really not into it.
You pretty much need to find friends to go with in that case.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Well, me. I have a I take a lot of vacations during the year, so all my budget
Yes.
goes towards towards those ones,
Yes.
and I don't do a lot of solo vacationing myself. Or if it is, it's a cheap one where I go to like visit my brother in New York, and
Right.
crash on his couch pretty much. Uh,
But like our seats were fantastic. We were in the 100 level, and we were pretty much sitting on the 50-yard line. So like we had a straight view at the ring, and so like we got to see everything.
that's so beautiful. Oh my
Um,
gosh!
because like
Someday maybe I'll make my way over.
there were people up in like the upper bowl, and it's like, why would you pay for those tickets to just be able to like you'll be watching the jumbotron the entire time?
Yeah, not the same thing.
My
No.
brother was in those types of seats, and he sent me a
Uh
picture, and I was like, man, I was thinking, not diminishing what he did. It's still cool to go to
oh
WrestleMania and be
yeah.
part of the whole thing, be surrounded by wrestling fans. So I get why people would pay for those tickets, especially because they're probably like a third of the price of what some of
Yeah.
the other people paid for. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, man, like that's really far away. I mean, then again, I have 20/20 vision, so like for me, I'm
Yeah.
just like okay, but still, like my family seats at Heinz Field are in the nosebleeds, right? We're like section 511, and so we're like all the way up top, and I couldn't imagine like watching wrestling
Yeah.
from the top of like our stadium, and our stadium's
No.
smaller than some of
Yep.
these other stadiums they go to.
Yeah. Our stadium's actually bigger than the Link.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or similar size. But either way, like there were like even with my seats, you would miss things because like they would be on the floor on the opposite side of the ring of us. You couldn't see them particularly well, or like if they got on the floor, it was hard to see. Um, and just like there were other like you lose the facial reactions when you're in person at that level.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and I think it'd be really fun to well, number one, WrestleMania's never coming to Pittsburgh,
I wish it
but if
would.
it did, oh boy,
I
I
would
would
go.
definitely be there.
I would go in a heartbeat.
Yeah. But Pittsburgh's just not prestigious enough. They always put in like very prestigious large
Yeah.
cities because they want to create the biggest show field that they can. I remember doing
Yep.
research on some of this stuff. Even when they would have like Monday Night Raw, they'd be like Monday Night Raw at like some small town outside of a big city. Like if they did Monday Night Raw, say like Pittsburgh versus like I don't know, like it'd be like an Erie. We're like no one knows where the heck Erie is.
Yeah.
So they would pretty much just lie and they'd be like, "Yeah, we're outside of Cleveland," like, or we're outside of Pittsburgh,
Yep.
and like so they pretty much just lie about where they were to make it seem like a bigger deal than it really was. Man, you look through some of those weird, like, old wrestling secrets that they used to have for
Yep.
terminology and whatnot. You couldn't call it wrestling. You couldn't say certain words. You couldn't call it a belt. You had to call it the
The
title or
title.
the
Yep.
championship.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, or else you get in trouble. And I'm like, holy crap! They curate. No wonder the promo quality went worse for a while because of how
Yeah.
micromanaged all of them were.
Yeah.
But I
But
digress. I'm not complaining about wrestling. I think it's really cool that Vince McMahon is gone from the
yes, that
product.
is yeah. And
Everything will be
he'll
better.
never return, which is glorious.
Yeah. Um, and if he spends the rest of his days in prison
No,
for all the weird crap he did,
yeah,
then
let's not go into
yeah,
that.
yeah, let's not go into that. But if he really did all that crazy stuff, then well, he deserves what's coming to him, I guess.
But yeah, so the event itself was fantastic. Like, minus the cold weather and the ushers, I would 10 out of 10 experience, would do it all over again. Lack of sleep, that's okay. Like, I am okay with that. It was just, I'm looking forward to going back to another Mania now. It's honestly, like I was telling my friends, I'm like, it's something that every wrestling fan should experience once.
What's religious? In the Muslim faith, they're supposed to travel to Mecca at least once in their life, if I'm correct. Gosh, I'm gonna get roasted on here if I'm wrong. Muslims who listen to this podcast, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think you're supposed to travel to Mecca at least once in your lifetime, like make a pilgrimage. And like for wrestling fans, it's like the same thing. Like WrestleMania is like the mecca of uh for wrestling. And once you go once, it's a true religious. It's like spiritual, almost, from what I understand. I've never heard of anyone going to WrestleMania and saying they would never go back.
Yeah.
Every person I've heard talk about it is like, I would go back.
The only people that I could see never wanting to go back would be the people that went to the one in Jersey a couple years ago, where it was raining the entire time, and
Ah,
the public transportation shut down at like 11 o'clock. So people were
before
just
the event was over.
Yeah, like people were stranded.
Holy
Nice.
crap!
Yeah. So
Yeah, city
like
needs to do better with that kind of stuff.
yeah. Yeah. And then WWE World was cool as hell because they had like all types of old like props that were used and shirts and stuff. So like it was cool to see that. I got my picture taken in front of like the old ECW entrance. Got to see some of the actual belts that superstars wear. Um, it blows my mind that they use Velcro to secure them now.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Seems kind of
they're
cheap looking. It's kind of
yeah.
cheap, right?
Yeah, I mean, they still have like the fake. They have clasp on there, but it's just for show.
I mean, easier
Um,
to take on and off though
yes, yeah,
with Velcro. So
they're
yeah, I
coming
get why
out
they do.
with. They're. I'm gonna have to buy a WWE figure for the first time in who knows how many years because they're coming out with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collaborations, and there's a Cody Rhodes, Casey Jones one that looks amazing.
Oh, nice.
That is really cool, actually.
And then I got to meet some superstars. I got Candice LeRae's autograph, Kevin Owens, Angelo Dawkins, Xavier Woods, Carmelo Hayes, and Paul Ellering autographs.
That's a pretty nice selection.
Yeah, yeah. And like each day had different autograph people doing autographs and pictures. It was a really cool experience. But I feel like I could talk about WrestleMania 40 for the entire episode, so we might need to cut my talk off before this becomes the Wrestling Banter podcast.
Well, I'm very glad that you had a great time, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sounds like a lot of fun, even though I am not a wrestling fan, so I would never be interested. I'm glad that you had a great time. It sounds like for a wrestling fan, that sounds like you said, Sean, like it's a must. You have to go at least once.
And who knows, maybe one day Turtle will get you to become a wrestling fan.
One can never tell what the future holds.
It's talk about a rabbit hole to go down though. Once you start,
Oof.
I'm actually kind of on a hiatus from wrestling. When COVID hit, I kind of took like a break from wrestling. I haven't really got back in fully, but I monitor from afar.
I gotta tell you, Sean, it's real freaking good right now.
I've heard. Dude, I went through and watched a bunch of R-Truth Judgment Day clips online, and I was like, man,
Oh my, those are freaking hilarious. Our Truth is fantastic right now.
yeah, he's killing it.
He was in a ladder match, the tag team ladder match, And
Well, he's afraid of
he
heights.
well,
Well, no, he's
no.
afraid of spiders. He's afraid of
Yeah,
spiders. And if there's a spider on that ladder,
he went for the hot tag. He called for the hot tag. He got the hot tag. He calls John Cena his childhood hero, which is hilarious because he's older than Cena.
yeah.
And then he hit the Cena moves of doom and acted like he was pinning the one wrestler to win the belt. And obviously, it doesn't work in a ladder match.
I gotta go
I
watch
was
it. I
I
didn't
was
watch WrestleMania.
crying. I was laughing so hard. But
Sorry,
honestly,
we're off track again.
Sean,
So you,
before we go back to the anime, Sean, people are starting to wonder this will be rival Attitude Era with how good it is.
People are talking like that.
Yeah, and
Oh
not
uh-oh.
like
crap!
not like the stupid stuff of like Attitude Era with like bra and panty matches and stuff, but like the wrestling quality is just that good. The wrestling
Oh
quality
yeah,
of the story is that
the
good.
wrestling, the promo, the quality,
Yep.
stories. Yeah, yeah.
They they sold 20,000 tickets to Raw that Monday night. There was no Jumbotron because they sold the entire arena out.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you should watch. You should get back into it because it's real good right now. It's honestly like it feels like it's can't miss.
I at least need to watch WrestleMania. I haven't watched it
Y-
yet, so I gotta catch
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Okay, Turtle. I'm done. You can continue now.
Maybe we'll want to put some timestamps in the comments for our so people can skip the WrestleMania section if they want.
When do we get out of
It,
wrestling?
if people want an entire WrestleMania banner blitz, let me know. I'll do it.
If it's just a blitz, I'm willing to do a blitz. I don't know if I'm willing to go all in, but I'll do a blitz. So let us know if
Oh
that's something
crap!
you want us to see.
That's true. Yeah, if you want us to have Turtle watch WrestleMania and give his thoughts without knowing anything about wrestling,
Completely blind.
Maybe we could also show Turtle King of the Ring 98.
maybe.
Maybe
Maybe
that's my
just
prerequisite.
maybe just some old Gold Dust clips. I don't know.
All right, let's get into it before we talk about wrestling the entire time. You guys ready?
Yes.
I'm ready, but only because it's Frieren.
You're ready but unwilling. Today we're talking about episodes 27 and 28 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End, the season 1 finales. Episode 27, An Era of Humans. The episode begins with a familiar old guy talking to Stark. The art of war is ever evolving craft. I screwed up that quote. The art of war is an ever evolving craft, but you've taken a large step towards unraveling its secrets. The master's lessons have now become the student's tricks. Then he walks away.
Hey, that old guy's back. Like when the episode opened, I'm like, oh, okay. Like I almost wondered if I'd clicked the wrong episode when it started with this again.
Why is he here?
Yeah, hold up. Doesn't he say that quote and Stark says something like, "So you keep saying,"
Yeah,
or something like that? He's like,
yeah.
"Please stop saying that the master's tricks become the students, whatever, or the master's lessons become the students' tricks. Please stop saying that."
And then when Fern walks up and it's like, she says, "I'm going to erupt." I'm like, oh, is Fern going to erupt with her proclamation of love for Stark?
No.
Yeah, it looks like an angry or annoyed erupt and not a fun one. But then again, Fern is often like that.
Fern walks up to Stark, and we see another hilarious face of Fern. She's very upset, and Stark starts freaking out, wondering why is she about to erupt. He thinks to himself, I'm scared. She tells Stark that she had an argument with Frieren over her broken staff. Frieren advised to get a new one, but Fern does not want to let go of her staff.
So when Fern said the two of them got in an argument, at first I was surprised because I'm like, these two just finished the second exam. Like, what could have possibly happened to cause an argument between the two of them in such a short amount of time? And then when she said it was about her staff, I'm like, oh, okay, this totally makes sense. Like, that's Fern is being very nostalgic for her staff because her quote unquote dad is the one who gave it to her when she was young.
Yeah, in the rare version of me saying this, but Fern's anger is actually a little justified here. Very rare that I'll say that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we saw earlier in the season, when Frieren lost her ring that was given to her by Himmel, she looked for it, but gave up pretty easily when she couldn't find it. Like, oh well, it's just a ring. We'll move on. Where Fern, like you said, Fern got that staff from Heiter, so that means everything to her, and she just doesn't want to give that up. So I totally understand her rage and being upset there. Kana is hanging out with Lavina, trying to cheer her up. After losing in round two, Lavina is very down in the dumps. Kana tells her it's only 3 years until the next exam, but Lavina tells Kana to make fun of her. Why does Lavina think so little of her friend? Kana throws out the old knight speak. Princess Lavina, dost thou crave head pats? Lavina walks over to Kana, and Kana throws up her dukes, ready to fight. Lavina is so depressed, she does want head pats.
It's weird seeing Kana consoling Lavina. And like, because Lavina is down when she doesn't want to fight Kana. Like, Kana's like, come on, let's fight. And Lavina's like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah, I do happen to know that head pats are usually a surefire way to help a woman feel better sometimes. So you know, it's an effective strategy.
As Kana pats Lavina, Frieren walks by. She is holding a bag of broken wood. We cut to Richter's shop, where Danken and Laufin are hanging out. I assume they are there to try and cheer up Richter, but he wants to throw them out, saying that they are interfering with his business. Are they not potential customers? Richter has very bad business sense. Laufin offers Richter a donut, and he turns her down immediately. Danken tells him he got the short end of the stick, but Richter doesn't want to hear it. He is in a very bad mood. Danken asks him why he opened his shop. Richter tells him he still has to make a living. Danken and Laufin take off, and Richter gets mad. He didn't buy anything.
Look, it's a Spiegel in Richter's shop. Did anyone else think that when they saw the blue lamp thing floating in the air?
No, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I saw your note, I had to like go back and watch the scene again and be like, "What the heck is he talking about?" I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry.
We ruined your joke. We apologize.
No. But like I saw it, I'm like, that looks just like the Spiegel. I don't know if that was intentionally done or just like reusing assets and changing the color.
Is that a monster or an inanimate object?
And then watching Laughlin eat more donuts was hilarious. Like that girl always has a basket of donuts in town.
I'm jealous. I wish I always had a basket of donuts.
I also really enjoyed Richter's quote. It was, but a man has to make a living. The race of life doesn't slow down for our feelings. And like, there are two ways I looked at this quote. One was it felt a little like pick yourself up from your by your bootstraps and keep moving forward, yada yada yada. But I also look at it as like no matter how bad life can get, you have to keep moving forward, even if it's just a little each day. Because if not, like that shit just will catch up to you. And I also love how Denkin wasn't afraid to throw shade at Richter by calling him a brat.
Going to the Richter quote, unfortunately, the way Richter said it, I think it's some of that toxic, like, man up talk. You know what I mean? Like, you know, man up and work. You don't have time to be sad type of stuff, which is, uh, in modern society, we don't like that kind of talk anymore because men should be allowed to have feelings now. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to bury it like men, our forefathers had to, right? Um, but, uh, yeah, it's kind of just how it is. So you're just like, yeah, um, you know, listen, man, you're sad. Doesn't matter. Go to work, get paid, move on. So yeah, it was kind of sad. That's how I took it anyway. So it's kind of sad hearing about Richter, but he's sad he failed. Yeah, I get it. Love with the donuts cracks me up. She has that young person metabolism, so she gets as many as she wants, and it all works out. When Denki calls Richter a brat, he also talks about being a brat himself when he was younger. And all I want is Denkin's backstory. We need a, I'm not saying a spin off, but we need an episode where we go through how he went through his life and the young stage and how he became a politicking wizard. Also, the Denkin Laufin grandpa granddaughter dynamic is kind of funny. Like, it makes no sense. Like, I'm like, where did Laufin come from? Like, there's nothing about her besides that, like, she can do the really fast thing because of her tribe. Nothing about her. I'm like, is she just gonna like start following Denkin around now? Like, it's just like, yep, this is what I do now. I just follow this guy around. What was she doing before this? I have no clue.
Just when Richter thought he might get some peace and quiet, Frieren walks in. She was told his shop was the best at staff repair. She shows him the bag. You brought me a pile of scrap wood. Don't tell me this is the staff. I fix things, not dispose of trash. Frieren gets all sad. It's not trash. This had me laughing so hard. Richter tells Frieren to give up, but she tells him if he can't do it, she will take her business elsewhere. Richter tells Frieren she is trying his patience. He never said he couldn't do it. Frieren asks if the staff can be repaired today so Fern can have it for the next test. Richter apologizes for calling the staff trash and that it was well maintained. Is is Richter being nice?
It was so cool to see Frieren and Richter share a scene together. Like they've been in scenes together, but never really one on one like this. So I thought that was a really nice touch, just to see Frieren interact with someone else than the usual suspects. And then watching Frieren throw a little shade at Richter to get him to repair Fern's staff was fantastic. Like watching that staff be repaired was so cool. And like you're right, Turtle. Richter being nice is weird.
It is kind of weird, but he has some legit talent, right? I mean, so you can put the stat back together. You're like, he's not like new to the game, and I think they kind of maybe don't do him full justice in the tournament where he's just like they just saw him using Earth magic, which I understand. Listen, is from a writer and illustrator standpoint, giving everyone kind of like a trick is fine. Everyone feels kind of like a one trick pony, but just varying levels of it, right? You have to do it for storytelling. If everyone knew all the spells that Frieren knew, you could do anything, and it'd be too complicated to write the scenes. So he's just like the Earth magic guy. But you see him do this, and you're like, wow. You almost forget that a lot of these people uh, know spells that aren't just elemental magic or something. But yeah, if he'd improved his attitude a little bit, I think he could become a fan favorite. But unfortunately, because he uh, is kind of a jerk at times, he won't be. At the same time, I like a variety of personalities in characters because it makes the narrative more interesting. If everyone's like the same like do-gooder, then it's not as compelling a narrative. So you need interesting and dynamic characters, and Richter is honestly one of the most realistic characters as a human being that the show has given us so far. So I really like his character design. His feeling of being let down is valid. His reluctance to help because of the essentially almost free labor is also realistic. But him doing the right thing out of kindness and compassion is also potentially realistic. It shows the human side of Richter.
We cut to Fern eating some kebabs, and she is still sulking. It's nighttime now, and Fern has been eating all day? Stark tells her it is time to go back to the inn. Fern can't believe after all this time, Frieren still doesn't understand her. Stark says he doesn't understand Fern either. She begins to hit Stark, and we even get those classic cartoon sound effects as she hits him. Stark tells Fern that Frieren is trying, and that is the important thing. The two run into Richter as he's shutting down his shop for the night. He recognizes Fern and asks if she is Frieren's student. Fern just kinda stares at him and says nothing, kind of creepily. Stark answers for her, and he tells her that Frieren ruined his day. He says she should have bought a new one to put more money in his pocket. He also tells her to take good care of it.
I got such a good laugh at Stark saying he doesn't understand Fern either. And then Fern wanting to fight him after, and the sound effect when she was like punching him was hilarious.
For hitting Stark bit made me chuckle because it was just so cartoony, and I enjoy visual gags.
It was also really interesting that Ritger called Fern Freeren's kid. Like, I know we always joke about Frieren being her quote unquote mom, but like, it's like, oh, okay, it's not just us that sees it that way. And also, Ritger, you just had to be a dick and ruin the surprise, didn't you?
It fits his character.
Yeah, it really does.
Back at the inn, Fern finds her staff fully repaired and resting on her bed. We get a flashback to Heiter telling Fern that Frieren doesn't read emotions well, but works hard to understand her allies as best as she can. Fern goes over to Frieren, who is fast asleep, and tucks her back in. What a sweet moment.
The Hyder flashback was so damn touching.
Yeah, it was really good. Reading emotions is not something that everyone can do easily, and it's if you're bad at it, at least be like Free Ren, where knowing that you're bad about it and then trying to make amends later is a good backup plan.
Zarya has arrived at headquarters to scold Zenza. Because of Frieren, 12 test takers have passed the second test, which is unheard of. Zenza apologizes, but Zarya says it's all Frieren's fault. Yeah, it kinda is. Zarya says that she will proctor the third exam herself. It will be a peaceful selection since she doesn't want to kill any promising mages. The old man named Lernin usually handles the last test, but he feels unqualified to test Frieren. Lernin says he noticed right away that Frieren was a master at suppressing her mana. The others were unable to detect this. Zarya tells all the first class mages that Frieren has spent her life mastering this ability to defeat demons. That makes her a genius. Zarya says she wants to see Lernin fight Frieren since he was the first ever first class mage, but she knows it will never happen. Zarya says she must not take on human apprentices. They are always disappointing. Sorry, Zarya, we humans just don't live long enough to keep up with you.
Oh boy, a lot of things for me to break down with this scene. One, Zarya being cold as ever, calling the fact that 12 exam takers passing the second exam is unheard of and not right. Like, you know shit is going to get out of hand with Zarya being the proctor for the third test. And the amount of mana we saw being emitted in that room was nuts.
It's the whole dang room.
Yeah. It's like at first I'm like, "Oh, okay, that must be like everyone in that room's mana." And then it's like, "Oh wait, no. That's just Zarya's mana. That's insane." It was also interesting that Zarya called the art of suppressing mana pointless. Like, we know Zarya trained Flama, but I wonder when was the last time Zarya got her hands dirty out in the real world and actually like fought demons or fought a battle.
The only time we ever see her, by the way, is whenever she's just like sitting in a chair. You know what I mean? Like she's just sitting in a chair surrounded by books. It's the only scene we see her in.
And then this Learning character, I, for him being a minor character, he's sort of interesting. And like the reason I think that is Zarya said the only person that could see through free rent suppression was the Demon King until Lernin came around. And this might just be a weird theory, but like this dude is old. Could he be the Demon King reincarnated or the Demon King in another form and we just are assuming that the Demon King was truly defeated?
Well, that's an interesting theory.
I mean, that's one of those fringe theories that you post online.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely
not
would. I'm gonna say this dude's actually pretty insignificant for the most part to the plot
yes.
going forward. But
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah. I'm not calling it a good theory, but it's just like it's just one of those connections that I made. I'm like, this is weird. And then to me, it was interesting that the third test is just going to be an interview with Zarya. To me, it sort of feels like a letdown after what the first two tests were.
No, I'm down with it. Well, we'll see. We'll see. The scene is interesting. Zarya is very interesting to me. I want to know so much more about her. But there's something about the way they draw her that just makes her look kind of funny. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's her haircut, but she just like it looks funny. Also, I feel like she looks younger than Free Ren. when you just you look at them both like next to each other. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but maybe it's once again, maybe it's the haircut. I I like how Laren was able to see Frieren's mana. It was a very cool concept. I like that the first class mages have some heft to them, and they're not all completely useless except for Zarya. But man, her words are brutal to him about his age. She pretty much tells him, she's like, "Man, you sure have come far. It's a shame you're gonna die. Pretty much a waste."
Wow.
Felt so
Yeah,
bad for the guy.
that's about what she said though.
Sean's not mincing words, just like Zarya.
Yeah,
Yeah.
speaking of not missing words. Okay, what's with the weird foot fetish bait here? Does anyone else know what I'm talking about?
It was
Even
the
Zarya's feet are weirdly prominently featured in a number of scenes. There's one scene where they're focusing on Laren, I think, and they have Zarya's feet blurred and on the side, but she's wiggling her toe or big toe every once in a while. And I'm like, guys, you don't have to put her feet in this scene. You could just show Laren in. It's okay.
so I guess Zarya is Quentin Tarantino's waifu of the week.
Yeah, we got to find out the people. It's I trust me. I love what they've done over at Studio Madhouse, but the animators, come on, guys, you're kind of weird. You can stop now.
Put the feet away.
Yeah.
The first to be interviewed is Kana. She opens the door and walks into this beautiful room. It's a greenhouse with some stained glass on the opposite wall. Zarya is tending to some flowers. Kana walks up to Zarya and says, "Excuse me." Zarya doesn't even look at her and says she failed the test and asks her to leave. What the hell?
Poor Kana. Her interview went as well as an AI turning down a resume because it didn't have all the corporate buzzwords in it.
Crap, that's actually a really good comparison. I hate how good a comparison that is, honestly. Yeah, I mean, I do feel bad for Kana, but that at least the music's good here. We've heard it before, but dang, it's so fitting. It makes the place where Zeri is feel extremely magical. Once again, this soundtrack is one of the greats. I feel bad for this group, everyone interviewing, but at least Zarya probably made the right call on a number of them, as we're about to see.
Zarya also fails Dusty, Lawfen, Sharf, and Airy this way. And honestly, with those four, it feels right after what we saw them do. Or I guess what would be better said, what they did not do during the first two tests.
Yeah, they're not really the strongest in the class. Obviously, Frieren carried Kana through that first part. Honestly, I don't think there's any way that those two advance if it's not for Frieren. Not that they're not talented mages, of course, but Frieren, she carries them. She comes with all their strategy. She broke the barrier so Kana could use her water magic. Like I don't know, it just so yeah, and same with some of the other people. I don't think that there was a single person here who I was disappointed that they didn't pass.
I was pretty shocked when Dusty failed. That was a joke.
You just assume the power of Christopher Sabat would carry him through.
Because of your English voice actor, you have passed.
I mean, some of the reasons she passed other people, it's just as good as reason as any.
Yeah, the interview process is a little sketchy here. But hold up, she does say an important thing, and we learned about this earlier about how important the imagination is in magic. And when she tells Kana, when Zarya tells Kana that she can't even imagine herself as a first class mage, then how can you be one? It really just goes to show you how important imagination and envisioning things is in that craft. And if you can't, manifest yourself into being a first class mage, if you don't believe you can be, or that you deserve to be, then you can't be one. Simple as that. And I think it's actually not bad. And I think that probably is the same for a lot of these people, like Dusty, Laufin, um, Sharf and Erie. We're all kind of carried by other people to success. So, I think they probably honestly showed up and felt like they didn't deserve it. And it showed.
After failing 5 people, Frieren is up next. Zarya tells her that she cannot imagine becoming a first class mage. That is why the others failed, but Frieren's reason is different. Zarya says Frieren cannot imagine passing because Zarya will not pass her. Frieren asks, "Am I wrong?" Zarya says she will give Frieren one chance. She asks Frieren what her favorite spell is. Without hesitation, she responds, "It creates a field of flowers." Zarya remembers that that spell was Flama's favorite, and Flama taught it to her. She says it was a foolish spell. Frieren leaves without a fight. Zarya asks how she could let herself be mocked like that. How did she defeat the Demon King? Frieren says she could not have done it without her friends. Hell yeah.
Loved the callback to Zarya calling Flama's favorite spell dumb, with Frieren picking it as her favorite spell. Also, Zarya needs to go touch grass with her doubting of Frieren defeating the Demon King. And then I also really dug the flashback of the party where Himmel was like, "You're the only one I wanted," when he was talking to Frieren. And I'm like, "Uh-huh, in more ways than one, am I right?"
Dun dun.
But but I really loved hearing the backstory of Himmel meeting Frieren for the first time. I'm not crying, you're crying.
Frieren is wiser than Zarya by a large margin, in my opinion. And I think it really shows here. Though, to be fair, this is another one of those anime power friendship scenes, right? Anime goes to that well so many times. Without my friends, or like, with my friends, I can defeat anyone, or like, I couldn't have done it without my friends, and you lose because you don't have any friends. Because that's also a common theme in anime. But Freerun's right. Whatever you have, people you can rely on. There are certain things in life that are just easier. It's sometimes even hard to win the smallest of battles without the help of friends. And great obstacles are often overcome with the help of others as well, whether it be coworkers, friends, family. So there are some valuable lessons there for anime and in real life.
To quote Taya from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, "Friendship is the best thing ever." That's a really old reference, but there it is.
Oh no, I'm still with yeah, I still appreciate it. We're just showing our age here.
I'm old. What can
But
I say?
hey man, I go through TikTok and I get Dragon Ball Z clips and people are still referencing Dragon Ball Z abridged. So like we're not that old, people are still referencing it.
I like it. Frieren tells Zarya that she will not fail Fern, and that the era of humans has arrived. And Fern is up next. Zarya is ready to fail Fern since the sight of her mana has stopped Fern in her tracks like all the others. But Fern is not afraid. She is watching Zarya's mana. Zarya asks her what she sees. Fern says she can see Zarya's mana fluctuating. Zarya gets this very creepy smile. She offers Fern to join her and become her apprentice, but Fern shoots her down right away, even if it means failing the exam. Zarya says that Frieren knew this would happen. Fern stands strong, and Zarya does not want to hold back a promising mage. Fern has passed the third exam. Congratulations.
Alright, maybe it was just me, but when Zarya offered Fern to become her master, I gasped. Like, there's no way Fern actually accepts this, right?
I had a little anxiety for a second, but mostly I thought Fern was going to decline, but I was worried that passing was going to be contingent on her accepting.
But then Fern stood up to Zarya, and I freaking loved it, and the music was so great when it happened.
What a well put together scene. I I loved Fern's facial expression during most of it. She sat there with like a blank expression, like just looking at Zarya. And so like it was kind of funny until she, called out the fluctuation. She was in awe of it. She was just kind of mesmerized by the by her mana. And Fern already told Sense of this. She does this for free run. She's not interested in becoming the greatest mage of a generation. It's really not. It's really not something she cares about. She's interested in keeping her family together, and that's what's most important to Fern. And that's why she turns down Zarya. Simple as that.
That is the end of episode 27. I hate to say it, boys, we only got one left.
No.
So before we get into the final episode, let's hear a beer of the week.
You know what they say, alcohol is the best medicine. And that means it's time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's beer comes to you from Iron Hill Brewing, and it is their Strawberry Sunsets, a 6.3% fruited sour that is packed full of mango and strawberries. Gotta tell you, this beer was absolutely fantastic. I got way more of the strawberry flavor than the mango flavor, and I'm okay with that because I'm not the biggest of mango fans. I honestly didn't realize that it had mango in it until I checked it into Untapped. For me, it's hard to do a strawberry beer well, as the strawberry flavor can be very hard to replicate. Sometimes it's too muted, sometimes it's too overpowering, but this beer got it just right. Had this beer before going to night 2 of WrestleMania to watch Cody finish the story. And yeah, it was great. And while I was at the brewery, Luke Gallows was actually there with his family eating lunch. And I wasn't that guy that went up to him and like, hey, can I get a picture? Hey, can you do an autograph? It's like, no. He's just a normal person, just like everyone else. He just has a more famous job. Let people eat in peace. Anyways, the Untapped average rating is a 3.85, and I give it a 3.75.
Episode 28. It would be embarrassing when we meet again.
Does this episode title worry anyone else, or is it just me?
I was a little confused by it. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was bad English at first. It would be embarrassing when we met again. Like, what would be embarrassing when we met again? I'm like, I don't get it. But I wasn't too worried. I think it's an attempt to create an emotional response, I think. It's about emotion, like this series.
It is Denkin's turn for an interview. Zarya tells him she knows all about him. He built himself up from nothing, but Zarya wishes she could have met him when he was a young man. She has no interest in an old flame's cinders. Wow, that's cold. But Zarya pauses. She tells Denkin that he first thought of how he could fight her. He confesses he did, but only for a moment. Zarya likes that Denkin still has the fire, so he passes. Yay!
I'm so glad for Denkin passing, and I'm glad he gets to go back to the village to visit that grave.
Yeah, I love this for Denkin. We saw how much fire he had in him when he dropped the staff and clocked the guy in part 1 of the exam. Don't sleep on Denkin. He has plenty of fight left despite his age.
Up next is Ubel. I've been waiting for this one. Zarya just looks at her and says, "You pass." Wait, what? Ubel says that interviews usually require words, but Zarya is not interested in talking with Ubel. That was different.
Zarya probably knows that Ubel can kill her easily with cutting her clothes.
If she could sense that killing aura on her, you know what I'm saying? We're like, she's like, yeah, this. She's like, I'm in the presence of this woman, and she might just try to kill me. So, but that's what the fight that she's looking for. She wants that out of the first class people. Zarya very much appreciates combat magic.
Next is Land. He walks up to Zarya, and she asks if this is a joke. She asks why he couldn't bother showing up himself. The camera pans to the side to reveal the real Land by the door. He says this is his real body, but Zarya calls bullshit. She says Land never left his hometown. She also knows he's drinking a tea right now. How the Land passes?
I was shocked by this whole interview with Land. Like, the dude is so damn powerful. Like, what's the range of his power? How many copies can he make? I have so many questions, and we have so little time this remaining in this season to learn more about him.
Yeah, this scene actually really impressed me. For we know next to nothing about land, and it's one of those things where there were a number of mages we didn't get to know very well, but I feel like they kind of planted some seeds for us, and I wonder if we're going to learn more about them later. But I just assumed that Land had a couple copies around, and the real him was around. No, the fact that the real him was not even there to take the exam is insane. So, yeah, want to know more about this guy?
I was scratching my head like, his does he know what his copies know? Does he see what his copies see? Can his copies make copies of like what?
I mean, I can barely control one body, right? Imagine controlling multiple clones.
Werble is next. Zarya tells him he is the strongest mage in combat, which makes Werble smirk. She noticed Werble sizing her up for combat, but he knew he could not win. She then compliments him on having no fear. Werble tells her he faced many opponents stronger than him before. That is how he made second class. She agrees and asks him his favorite spell. Werble tells Zarya magic is not to be liked or disliked. Magic is a tool for killing. Zarya smiles evilly and passes him.
This interview was intense. Because, like, Zarya feels the same way in regards to, like, magic is a tool for killing. And just, like, I'm sure Zarya sees a lot of herself in Werble.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like their values kind of align on viewpoints of magic. So, yeah, easy pass for Warble, which I'm happy with because based on how the dude did in the exam, he deserves it.
Last up is Metoda. Zarya sits on the ground and asks Metoda what she first thought of her. Metoda tells her she looks very small and very adorable. Zarya sighs and says this year's test takers are a different breed altogether. Metoda has passed. Compliments can go a long way.
What a weird final interview this was. Like, it felt very out of place. Like, Matoda passed, and we really don't know anything about her. Like, she had such limited screen time, and it's like, we're passing her? Like, it just felt weird.
Matoda's a character I want to learn more about. She was able to use the holy, the holy scripture to heal um, Dusty. So whenever she did that, I was like, oh, she's multi talented. Like she used different types of magic. So it'd be really interesting to see what else Matoda has up her sleeve. Oh, she could also do the free summon in place magic, couldn't she? Or was that someone else? She was able to. She did the light hypnotism to try to get Frieren though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to remember who froze Fern in place
Yeah,
a couple episodes ago.
she said she specializes in like restraint spells, but it does kind of seem like she's a jack of all trades where she can use most magic types at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to see her again in the series if possible. I think it would be very fun. But yeah, it was kind of an odd interview, but I don't know, it felt very anime the way it resolved.
I also find it interesting where she was the only one where she could sense all of the other copies in the dungeon except for like Zenza and Fern. So I'm wondering she has like really good perception when it comes to mana. So that's probably why she passed. But I also feel like we're probably going to see her again in season 2. I'm hoping to maybe like, give some more backstory to her because I also find her interesting, but we really don't know anything about her. As Zarya leaves the interview site, she apologizes to Senza. She says that this year they have had a bumper crop. They were a strange and promising group of mages. I'm very curious to see who we meet again in season 2. And I still want to know, what is Ubel's deal? Ubu is still following Land out of the test site. Werble and his team are still partying up, and Denkin meets Frieren outside. Frieren is patting Fern on the head for passing, but Denkin thanks Frieren and Fern for all they did to help him. Now he can visit a certain grave up north. Frieren smiles and says, good. This is a very similar journey that Frieren is on. I wonder if we'll meet up with Danken again in season 2.
I really hope we meet Denkin again, and I'm also curious to see which of these mages we see again down the road.
Denkin got too much screen time to not be seen again. That's how I feel.
Right?
So I don't. You can't give us this much character development and not see them again, right? So then again, anything could happen. I have a good feeling that we're gonna see him again based on some accidental manga spoilers I
Cheater!
read. Why'd you say he's gonna be in another scene?
Stark and Fern are in a local bakery. Fern is trying to decide to buy pretzels or cookies. As she points at the cookies, another finger points at the same cookies. Why, it's Laufin and Danken. We meet him again so soon. I love how Laufin keeps calling Danken Grandpa. Danken, being the awesome guy he is, he buys treats for everyone to share. As Fern digs in, she has another incredible face while she enjoys the cookies. Stark is confused since he has no idea who these people are. Fern tells him that's Mr. Danken, an Imperial mage. Stark is like, oh, that's a fancy title. And then he freaks out realizing he's a noble. The music even slows down as he comes to his realization. He apologizes for calling Danken an old man, but Danken is not upset and says he has no better use for his money. Fern asks if he has any family. Danken tells us that he lost his wife in his mid-20s. She was always very sickly, and he didn't have enough power or wealth to save her. He tells Fern to thank Frieren for reminding him how wonderful magic can be. Fern tells Danken that Frieren would love to hear that from him.
Fern, first off, when it comes to the decision of cookies or pretzels, the easy answer is why not both? I mean, you just accomplished a major thing. Treat yourself.
I was gonna say you can definitely reward yourself for becoming a class 1 mage. Though it doesn't come with like a salary or anything, right?
Don't think
Not
so.
that we know of, but like they're always talked about as like the most powerful people. So I'm assuming they're getting paid somehow, somewhere.
I think the amount of jobs that you can pick up. After all, you can't even travel north without a first class mage in your party, right? Was that the
Correct.
rule? So like just escorting people north is probably like a high paying job.
I love how Denkin spoils everyone with treats. It reminds me of grandparents spoiling their grandkids. And like in this scene we learn why. Like his backstory is so fucking sad. Like imagine losing your significant other in your mid 20s and like not having the ability to like help them. It's like he's like, yeah, if I had the money or if I had the power, I probably could have helped my wife, but I didn't have that. It's like fuck. So like being able to buy these young mages donuts or pretzels or cookies or whatever, like it's his way of being a dad and a grandfather. Like he never got to experience that. So it's like it totally makes sense. And then I absolutely love how Stark freaks out every time he realizes someone is a noble.
Okay, that is funny though. That is actually funny.
He usually gets felt up by nobles too, so
Oh no.
good reason to freak out.
He meets a noble and he's like, you're not gonna make me pretend to be your son, are you?
Frieren is walking across town with 9 grimoires. 9! They are her whole arm length up to her chin. As she strolls along, very happy to have found them, an old lady drops her basket of fruits. Frieren takes a second to think if she should help or not. Before she can make a move, Warble appears and helps the old lady recover her basket of goodies. We cut to Frieren sitting on a bench reading. Warble sits next to her and asks if she would ignore an old lady in need. Frieren says the thought of helping crossed her mind for a moment. At first, I thought that seemed out of character for her, but then I thought, Frieren would have helped the old lady right away originally. But the more I really thought about it, I feel like I didn't quite understand Frieren. I think she would have helped the old lady eventually because Himmel would have done it. But Frieren had to ask herself first, what would Himmel do? She would not have done it on her own accord. Not yet, anyway. We still have a long journey ahead of us. Let's go, season 2.
It was really interesting to hear these two banter about the test, and Frieren being a little hesitant of Werble with how he treated Fern. And then it was very interesting to hear Werble point out that he could have saved a lot of lives by killing Ubel.
That was that last point is a very interesting point to me. Because he's like, yeah, Ubel's actually gonna kill a lot of people. Like you just don't know it yet, but like she's going to kill a lot of people. And you're like, huh, that's Warble knows the bloodlust because because Warble doesn't I don't think he necessarily enjoys fighting demons. He just knows it's the right thing to do, right? He's like no, Ubu actually enjoys killing. He's like I don't enjoy it. I just have a duty to do it. Ubu actually wants to kill stuff, and that's messed up. So very interesting. Warble's a cool dude. I would love to see more of this guy.
Werble says he can't believe Frieren didn't help since she was in the hero's party. Frieren asks if that should dictate how she should act. Werble tells us that he admired the stories of Himmel and his brave adventures. Himmel had visited Werble's town to help out in little ways. The townspeople were so happy, but Werble could not understand why at the time. After Himmel passed away, the demons returned and destroyed his village, and that made him understand. Nothing compares to home, and home keeps your hands busy so you don't worry about the other things. The small stuff counts just as much. Always treasure the people you meet. Death is far from life's only goodbye. Werble and his party leave for their next adventure. I wonder if we'll see them again in season 2.
Werble is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters. He has such a great backstory, and the way he looks at life is definitely interesting. I really hope we meet this character again.
Yeah, I wonder some things about how if he had grown up in like a nicer area that wasn't devastated by the demons, like if he would have been like a different man. You know what I mean? Because he honestly has some Himmel-like qualities. Like, despite how many demons he kills and how he talks about how killing magic is the only thing that matters and blah blah blah. I He has like a really good heart, and it makes you wonder if he could have really been something really special if he was born in a different era or in a different place. Not that he's not special now, of course, but he's just kind of like the guy who kills a bunch of demons. So maybe we're gonna meet him up north when he's killing demons.
We get a Himmel flashback. The party is blocked by a river of sheep. Eisen asks if Frieren can magic them across, but she says that would leave her all alone on this side. Eisen asks why they don't just fight the Demon King now. Himmel says he cannot turn a blind eye to someone in need. Frieren closes her new book and tells Himmel not to worry. The world has changed after all.
Great flashback here. I'm really going to miss these flashbacks while we wait for season 2.
Yeah, no, they line them up so well. Can't get enough flashbacks. Can't get enough montages.
Back at the inn, Fern tells the party she is allowed to bring guests with her to receive the privilege. Fern wants the others to come with her, but Frieren looks unwilling to go. When they get there, Frieren is not allowed to enter. In fact, Frieren is banned from all other facilities for 1,000 years. Fern says that is quite the punishment for no crime. Frieren says she got on Zarya's bad side and heads back to the entrance. Stark decides to go with Frieren to keep her company. As the two wait outside, Frieren says that Fern is now a first class mage, and not even 50 people in the world have achieved that. Less than 50 people? I didn't think the club was that small. Frieren tells Stark that Fern will become even more famous than her. I believe it.
Zarya is so petty when it comes to Frieren. I wonder when our next encounter will be between these two. Also, Stark, buddy, you need to support Fern in this major accomplishment. That's no way to advance the ship by spending time with Frieren instead.
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking that too. And I was like, man, like Freon should have been like, oh, you go on ahead, start. Like go watch the ceremony. Like I'll be fine. I mean, Fern rocks on by herself all the time, and she's the second most powerful mage in the entire city, pretty much. So you're like, okay, like why would Stark go with her? Go watch Fern's ceremony. But I think Fern understood that since Fern got turned away, he'd walk with her. Also, I love the level of petty that Zarya has. It cracks me up. It by all Zarya and Frieren should be like best friends. You know what I mean? They're two of the only elves that they know, and they both love magic. But because Frieren doesn't like magic the way that Zarya thinks that she should like magic, she refuses to get along with her, and that's so petty. But whatever. It honestly it adds a layer of comedy for me, and that's fine. But yeah, I don't know. This next scene is crazy.
Out of nowhere, Old Man Lernin appears. He apologizes to Frieren that Zarya is being a child. Frieren says, "Don't worry about it, since that is how Zarya has always behaved." She watches Lernin study her and realizes he can see her mana fluctuating. He tells Frieren that he wants to be remembered since he is a mage that only knows battle. Since the Demon King is gone, he will be remembered as the mage who killed Frieren and attacks her. She jumps into the air, blocking Lernin's attacks, but takes a hit to the shoulder. He challenges her to a duel. "A little late there, buddy. You already attacked her." She tells him no because there is no point. Battle mages are terrible at the softer things.
Dude requests a duel after ambushing her. That's not how it works. Not much honor there, Mr. Lernin.
Yeah, but I don't know. Laren like a weird, awkward dude. We kind of see it before, so I don't know. Doesn't seem like he has it all together.
He's sort of only there as a plot point for Zarya.
He might be the strongest first class mage, though, based on Zarya's initial assessment, though.
He was the first class mage, so he could be the strongest.
Um,
We jump back to Frieren asking Zarya about the flowers during the interview. Frieren notices they were made with magic. Zarya tells her she remembers every student she had and what their favorite spell was. It seems Zarya is like Frieren in that they don't understand or process emotions the same way humans do. Fern comes down the steps and asks how Frieren got hurt. Frieren says that they should see a church, if there's one still open, to get healed. Lernin says that battle mages are bad at the softer things. That includes Frieren as well.
Zarya, I know we always talk about how cold she is, but she's really an enjoyable, complex character. Like, she always remembers all of her apprentices' favorite spells, and she tries to remember all of her apprentices. And I also wonder if Flamma took on Frieren partially because she reminded Flamma so much of Zarya.
that could be the case. Um, I do like that you call out Zarya's complex character because she talks about how important battle magic is, and she talks like the tough game, right? But at the end of the day, she even says things about like, oh, it would be pointless to like kill promising young mages and things like that. Where like you realize that you know, I think Zarya obviously has an interest in combat magic and sees how important it is. I don't, I don't know if she like wants to kill anyone though. You know what I mean? And in fact, she actually might even care a little bit about them because that's the thing, right? She says, "Ugh, I remember like why I don't teach humans mages because you all die so young." And then she founds an academy or like a society where all she does is teach humans magic. And also, remember when Flama came up and was like, "Hey, I got the go ahead to teach humans magic. Isn't that great?" And Zarya's like, "Yeah, that's bullcrap." And then here we are, some years later, and Zarya founds a society to like continue Flama's work. She probably sat and dwelled on some of that stuff that Flama talked about. So Zarya, like Fern is going to affect Frieren greatly even after Fern is gone. um, Zarya's apprentices have affected her greatly. It's just that I think Freeren's more aware of it than Zarya is.
The next morning, Stark and company are heading out. The children in town want to play. Two different stall owners offer him food and drink. and the old man is back. The path of the warrior is a long and treacherous one. Walk it with care. Fern is impressed that people love Stark everywhere he goes. Frieren asks Fern what spell she asked for. Fern gets all excited and twirls around. Frieren examines Fern's clothes and figures it out. Fern chose a spell that can clean clothes down to the stitch. Very useful indeed. Frieren tells Fern she is definitely her apprentice. Fern is very happy and says Zarya was not happy about Fern's selection. The look on Zarya's face was hilarious when she asked Fern if she was out of her mind.
Stark the hero. He's totally pulling that sword. Look how much. I mean, look how much of an impact he made on this town while Fern and Frieren were taking the exam.
It's true.
Like, a lot of the stuff he did is stuff that Himmel would have done.
That's so true. It's funny because like when they have those flashbacks about Himmel, that's what a lot of flashbacks are about. Him helping people in the town. For sure, when Stark does it, it's like a background scene that happens for like 15 seconds and is never mentioned again. But you realize that Stark is having that effect on people, or he does like a lot of small things to help people out.
And then it is great to see how much Frieren is rubbing off on Fern with the odd spell choices. Like, would it have been a surprise at the beginning of the season if Fern picked something more powerful instead of a spell that would have been able to clean the cloth down to the very stitch?
I love that because Freeren's like, finally, a practical spell. Like
And,
you can pick a spell that like blows up a continent, and she's like, oh, finally something useful.
and then Zarya's face whenever Fern picked was hilarious.
Zeri had to be thinking like, oh my gosh, she's just like Freeren.
Why did I pass this girl?
Yeah, some regret.
On the way out of town, they find Lavina and Kana waiting for them. The two girls thank Frieren and say they will train hard for the next 3 years and try again. Frieren says she is glad to hear and says a quick see you later. Fern and Stark comment on how short the farewells have been. Frieren flashes back to Himmel again. The party asks why Himmel says such quick farewells. Himmel says a tearful goodbye does not suit them and he believes they will meet again. When that happens, it would be embarrassing. That's where the title comes from. He
Ah.
said the thing. We get the ending credits over some beautiful artwork showing locations that we have been and characters we have met. Frieren says it would be embarrassing when we meet again. Fern asks, what is that supposed to mean?
I love Himmel's explanation on not wanting to do farewells. It reminds me of my ninth grade Spanish teacher. He would say when he was abroad that he would say people would get all upset when you would say goodbye. And like the family he was staying with, he would be like, okay, goodbye. And they're like, no, no, no. And like they would start crying. They're like, no, not goodbye. Like, and he's like, oh, sorry. Like, he's like, oh, when I meant goodbye, I meant I'll see you later, not goodbye. Goodbye. And like the people where he was studying abroad, when they said goodbye, they felt goodbye was final. Like they'll never see you again. Like it was a finality to it. They wanted people to say farewell or see you soon because it had a happier connotation to it. So I really enjoy Himmel's explanation of the short like the short goodbyes.
Yeah, that's different from one of my friend groups where we actually say bye, bye forever. Yeah, we do actually say that as a joke sometimes. Quite the opposite. But no one cries during that one.
After we get the episode 28 title card, we get a screen that says the journey to end continues.
Looks like we have our confirmation for season 2. It starts now, right? Right? Right?
Please?
The second I saw this, I immediately went to Google and started finding confirmation for season 2, and it has not been confirmed as of this recording. And people are getting worried that it's not going to go to Madhouse and that a different studio is going to pick it up. And I'm like,
Oh,
Madhouse, you
that'd be
have to pick it up.
tragic.
Yeah, because
Yes.
That'd be
like
so.
that happened to One Punch Man. Like they did season one and they refused season two. So people are worried that the same thing's gonna happen here. But I don't see how they could. This show's special. Trust me, I'm a huge One Punch Man fan, but this show is special.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely see a season 2 in the horizon. There's no way they're not going to do season 2. But yeah, I didn't think about another studio picking it up, and I really do hope it goes back to Madhouse because their work on this has just been incredible. All right, guys, what did you think about these 2 episodes? The season 1 finale.
Whew, fantastic. Like, it's hard to say anything bad about them. Besides that, I'm sad that it's over.
That's the biggest crime right there. The fact that it's over, the fact that I'm probably gonna have to wait like 2 years for season two. I actually don't know how far the manga is. Like, what if they can't even do a season two because the manga's not far enough along? Not really sure. I really hope that's not the case though. But yeah, I need a season two very very badly. In fact, I'm probably just gonna start reading the manga whenever we're done. So fortunately, if we review season two on the podcast, I'll probably already know what's gonna happen. But I can't get enough Frieren.
And by if, you mean when, because we will. Yeah, I thought these were great, especially after like the first 2 tests. I was very curious to see what test number 3 was going to be, and it turned out to just be an interview. But it was still, you know, high tension and funny and enjoyable at the same time. You know, they had some great visual jokes, some great one-liners, and even like the Richter and Frieren stuff. Richter had some great bits that had me rolling. I don't I don't dispose of garbage. It had me rolling. Very very funny. But these are great episodes. Madhouse, if you don't do season 2, I'm going to be very upset. I might actually cry. Don't make me cry. You don't want to see me cry. All right, guys, let's get into the waifu of the week. Sean, who is your waifu of the week and why?
Yeah, I'll get us started. I have to pick our title character. It's Frieren. Frieren's just great. I think that she was a very suitable. She's like okay, so she's kind of like she is a Superman-esque character, right? Like an extremely powerful person. But you know, she has a lot of interesting character arcs. Or not character arcs. She learns a lot of interesting lessons along the way. And maybe that's not like I guess Superman learns interesting lessons along the way. Maybe Superman's a bad comparison, but I'm just talking about like OP character who you think has it all figured out, but they come up against interesting obstacles that do pose an interesting challenge, but not always a physical challenge, but sometimes a question of morality or trying to juggle their relationships, things along those lines. And I love that Frieren has learned so much from the company of other people when previously she did not see it as very important. And I think that I don't know, she just deserves the title.
Mike, who is your waifu of the week and why?
I'm also going with Frieren because she was fantastic. I mean, this was a week where I felt like there were so many good options to pick. Part of me wanted to pick Richter just because of putting Fern's staff together. But like there were so many good choices to go with. So I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit of the main character because it's the last time we'll get to pick her
For season 1.
for season 1.
For my waifu of the week, I almost went with Frieren because Frieren is incredible and this show is incredible. But I'm going to break the streak here. I'm going with Himmel. I think I picked Himmel as my very first waifu of the week for this show, and I'm going to end it with Himmel. He always has some incredible flashbacks we get with him. This is a character that I feel like I could hang out with. I like his personality. He's a great leader, and I would totally follow this guy into battle. He's the best, and he is the reason that Frieren has gone on this quest. So I'm giving it to Himmel. All right, guys, do we have any other thoughts on season 1?
Yeah, it was freaking amazing. It was one of the best seasons of anime I've ever watched, and I need season 2 ASAP.
For me personally, if you go back and listen to our year-end episode, we rank all of the series that we watched last year in order, like how much should we enjoy them, right? So we ranked them, and for me, I put Frieren above all of the series that we watched last year. Honestly, this is probably a top 5 anime all time for me. Like I need the next season to come soon because like I said, it's just for me truly one of the greats, and I hope that the series continues to be one of the greats for me.
I think I've said it before, and I will say it again here. This is by far and away one of the best shows I have ever watched. I definitely want a season 2. I am a rather patient person. I'm willing to wait until Madhouse makes season 2. That's right, Madhouse. You have to. Don't let anybody else touch this show. You set the bar too high. I'm willing to wait patiently until Madhouse does season 2 because when they do it, they will do it correctly. They'll take their time and they'll make it incredible. So yeah, this is one of the best shows ever. Can't wait till season 2, but I am willing to wait until it's perfected. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watched Frieren Beyond Journey's End. We hope you join us next week for episode 55 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will begin watching a brand new show. Sean, I believe this is your pick. Tell everybody what we're watching next.
Yeah, there was one anime that came out recently that kind of caught my eye and received a lot of acclaim. So I thought it'd be worth checking out, even though I haven't watched a single second of it or a single trailer. Yeah, please follow us and subscribe so you can get the alerts for a new show that we're gonna review. Solo Leveling.
I've seen most of it already.
Well, the classic turtle gets to cheat.
I can't help it. I watch stuff. Again, I'm watching it before we picked, but yes, we'll be watching Solo Leveling. Stay tuned, everybody. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. And if you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit that notification bell, subscribe, and leave a comment. Mike, where can we be found?
The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. We can be found on X. Follow us on X. We can be found on Instagram. Follow us there. We can be found on Threads in case X ever goes away. And we can be found on YouTube. Subscribe to us there.
Thank you all for joining us for Frieren, and we'll talk to everyone next week.